These sections. So we start as usual with identifying the individuals and what was studied for each of the individuals in the information presented. And here we see that the information represents for each of the 50 states what % of their birth were delivered via C-section. So while a C-section, a cesarean delivery, is something that describes one birth, the birth and the mothers are not the individuals represented in the graph here. Specifically, the individuals represented in these graphs are those 50 US states. And you can verify that by looking at the graph. And if you see that you have columns, the height of which is the count, and you add up all those columns, you will see that the first one 4 plus the next one 5, etc. That adds up to 50, the 50 states. The variable is the percentage of birth for that state that were delivered via C-section. So the C-section rate for each state. And that means that this is a histogram representing this one quantitative variable, right? For each state, we have a numerical value. What % of the birth that particular year, 2022, were delivered via C-section? And so that means we can take the time to make sure we understand that first column. It has a height of 4, and it spans the range from 22.5 to 25. And so that tells us that in 2022, there were 4 states in which the % of birth that were delivered via C-section was a value somewhere between 22.5% and 25%. Following this logic, the next column tells us that there were 5 states that had a % of birth delivered via C-section, so a C-section rate somewhere between 25 and 27.5%, etc. So this interpretation here is consistent column to column, so all the states are accounted for. All right, so now that we understand this graph, let's summarize the distribution. So we have a distribution that is single peaked. There is clearly just one lump here. It is more or less symmetric. The values range from, as far as we can tell on the graph, 22.5% to 40%. So that means that the state with the smallest percentage of birth delivered via C-section had a C-section rate of somewhere between 22.5 and 25. So at least 22.5%. And the state with the highest cesarean delivery rate had a delivery rate of somewhere between 37.5 and 40%, so no more than 40%. So overall, cesarean delivery rates range from roughly around 22.5% to 40%, with a peak in the 30 to 32.5% range.